Well, my first 13 Things About Me episode went down really, really well, so I thank you guys very much for that. I got some great comments and feedback on that. And with that being said, we'll just get straight back into the second part. So, trophy collecting and the hardest one to achieve. But first, I want to talk about how I got into it. So, when I got my. No, tell a lie. When my friend got his Xbox 360 at launch, I wasn't fortunate enough to get one at launch. I discovered the achievement system and found it really awesome that you could play the same game that you've already finished but try for different goals and like have little challenges to do throughout the game. I found it awesome that it would extend the gameplay without making it boring because you was trying for different things. A lot of trophies you get just through genuinely playing the game, but then there's some that you have to go back and play in different ways, maybe change the difficulty setting or do something a certain way, so I love that. And then I got a Xbox 360 myself and really got into that, after which I got a PlayStation quite a long time later. I got a PS3 and I got into trophy collecting on that. I'm not a big fan of online trophies though, because I don't like online gameplay myself. I'm more of a casual. I like to sit and play in my own time sort of thing and pause it when I can. And anyway, it didn't really do much. I didn't really do much trophy collecting on the PS3, but then I got my PS4, which I used for the longest time, probably about 3 years, as my main system. And I started hunting platinum trophies. I ended up with 40, I believe, in the end, 40 platinums. And the hardest ones to achieve, in my opinion, not including grinding ones where you've just got to grind, that's not my sort of thing, I don't like that, would be Rogue Legacy. Was my first hardest one. Yeah, that game's awesome. You have to it's a permanent death type game, like if you die you're dead, but you don't reset your levels, so each time you can get just that little bit further. It's an indie game and I'd definitely recommend you go checking it out. Second one would be Destiny. The trophy, the platinum on that was hard purely because to get the perfect raid, you need to have 6 people and you need to not die throughout the entire raid. Now obviously raids are the hardest part of the game in my opinion, and to get 6 people to all play perfectly at the same time is really difficult. Like we would get close and then like I would die or a friend of mine would die and you had to start the entire raid back, but we got it in the end. Flawless Raider, I believe the trophy was called, and that's one of my proudest gaming moments as well. And the actual hardest one for me, apart from Destiny, was Batman Arkham Knight. The trophy, the rules to get the trophies were just redonkulous. Playing it on the hardest difficulty, doing the Batmobile sections perfectly, and then doing the combat challenges. I don't like the combat challenges in the game because they just ask a bit too much. I just love to. Well, I don't button mash. I do the combat correctly, but yeah. So Arkham Knight was the hardest one that I ever achieved. This one's going to be really quick and easy to do. My favourite game controller. There's a lot of different people say different things about it, but for me it's the Nintendo GameCube controller. It just fits in your hand so comfortably. The only complaint I've got is the analog stick on the right isn't a proper analog stick. It's just like a little nub, and I wasn't a fan of that. I like to have dual analog sticks. I like the triggers on the GameCube controller, whereas you push them in a certain amount and then there's a click right at the end to let you know that it's all the way in. I just like that, so you could do different things with it. They could program different uses for it. Other than that, my favourite retro controller would be the Super Nintendo controller. It's just basically upgraded model of the NES controller, I think. You've got the same type of D-pad. It's more rounded, so it's more comfortable to control. There's no hard edges, and of course you've got 6 buttons on the thing, not including start and select, whereas the NES had 2 and the start and select. So yeah, favourite game controller, GameCube, without a doubt. As I mentioned in the previous episode about being on a game collection website, I got into game collecting. Well, I'd never sold any of my games I've ever had, really, up until recently, but we won't talk about that. And then I really got into gaming, really enjoyed it, and there was a website that I found called retrocollect.co.uk, where you'd meet like-minded people that also collect retro games, and it had an awesome tracker where you could track all the games you own. So if you're out in the wild and you're not sure whether you own a certain game, because believe me, it does get to that point, you can just quickly look on the website and it will tell you. It also tells you games by rarity and loads of awesome features. My favourite system to collect for, though, although not the easiest, would either be the Super Nintendo or the Nintendo 64, purely because those games I actually really enjoy playing. But they're certainly not cheap, at least not in the UK. To get, like, it's fair enough if you want to go for the loose games, but I like the box art and the manuals and things like that. I love looking through that, and that's where it gets really difficult. So yeah, I got to around about 600 games and then sort of stopped for the time being because of getting the gaming PC and all the YouTube stuff, like my microphone and all that. It's just got a little bit expensive, but I'm not planning to sell my collection. The only thing I sold was my Xbox One to get the PC, which you can get most games on Xbox One on PC anyway, so I didn't really see a big deal, apart from Rare Replay, which I'm really sad about. And for the last 4, I thought I would do something a little bit outside of gaming, so you get to know me just that little bit better. Silly questions, but we've got favourite TV programmes. I'm not a big TV watcher. I do watch some, but not very much. And my favourite series is, I'm sure that's not actually how you say it, would be, to begin with, it was Smallville, because I love Superman and superhero stuff. And I know you got all the Marvel and everything now, but you really didn't back then. So Smallville was awesome. It had an amazing soundtrack, and yeah. And then Game of Thrones, obviously. A friend of mine from the same website that I described, Retro Collect, told me to try out Game of Thrones, and I was at first like a bit meh. It's like set in olden times and sword fighting, and being a guy that likes technology and stuff, I wasn't so sure I'd enjoy it, but wow, my god. The thing I love about Game of Thrones is anyone is fair game for death. Like, you think you could spend the whole series getting to know a character, and the next episode they're off them, and they never fail to shock you. Game of Thrones is awesome. And recently, Westworld. I don't know how many of you have heard about Westworld, but wow. I just finished the first season. A little bit sad that it ended so quickly, just 10 episodes, but I think it's the same with Game of Thrones as well, sometimes less. Westworld is amazing. I didn't know that it was based off of a 70s movie, but yeah, if you've got the opportunity to watch Westworld, definitely go ahead and give it a shot. And now a topic that I'm really fond of, my favourite food. If I had to say a country, I would say probably Italian. If I had to say certain dishes from Italy, I would say lasagna, spaghetti bolognese. It turns out not many people in America know what that means, so I guess I could just say spaghetti. But then I like things like enchiladas and fajitas as well. Oh god, you could get me going forever. Being British, I love roast dinners. So yeah, pretty much anything's fair game with me with food, and as long as it's not salad. Not a fan of the salad. Now, pets. I love all animals, but I definitely wouldn't own some. Never owned a cat, but I would definitely own a cat. I lived in a house for a few years that had cats, and I love cats. I mainly grew up with dogs. My first dog being my best friend. I grew up with him since I was about 2, and we did everything together. I had 2 other dogs since then, and yeah, though dogs are definitely man's best friend, or females in some cases, I guess. But yeah, dogs and cats are my favourite animals. And last but not least, my friend told me to try this one. Coke or Pepsi? Well, when I was younger I would have said regular Coke, but now I'm diabetic, I can't drink that, not safely anyway, so I switched to Pepsi because Pepsi has Pepsi Max, and it's the only diet Coke I know that has an actual flavour. Diet Coke itself is just tastes like watered down Coke without sugar, whereas Pepsi Max, they try and do something with the flavour, and I think they add some sweetener and stuff, and it tastes really, really nice. So that's my jam at the moment. Right, unless I've miscounted, that should be 13 things about me. Sorry if the questions were a bit lame in your opinion. Feel free, if you have any questions about me, to ask them in the comments or any social media that you can find me on. I've got some forms of social media on my YouTube and on my end screen as well, so you'll be able to find me there. I'll definitely do a Q&A if I get enough. But yeah, thank you everyone for all the kind comments and everything, and I'll see you in the next video.